Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are having a look at the new naval vehicles that are on the dev server for Dance of Dragons. Something has to be understood. There is a lot of naval vehicles that are sat in the files right now, so even though there's not a ton on the dev server, understand that I will cover them in a separate video. So there is like 5, 6, 7 of them. The other part is there is also French Coastal. French Coastal is being added to the game in CBT in the next update. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a specific video on the French Coastal tech tree, since that is a new part of the game, which, you know, is kind of coming in, and I like to keep that in a separate video. So in this one, we'll just talk about the new big kind of bangers that are coming in for everybody else on the dev server. So the first vehicle is for America, and it is the USS Tennessee. This is a thick boy. The vehicle itself is incredibly wide. So just to kind of compare it in terms of other machines, so you have the Tennessee here, look how wide it is. And this is the Derfflinger, which is another vehicle coming in. So just look at like this area and look at the Tennessee. It is a thick boy. This vehicle has 4 triple-mounted sets of 14-inch guns. You can see 2 of them here, and also you can see 2 of them here. The other part is this is its refit because of all of the other guns. You can see this is the 1943 version of the USS Tennessee. So it has 8 dual-mounted 5-inch guns. These are the standard ones that you find on cruisers and also destroyers for the Americans, so the kind of Mark 12 cannon sets. Then you also have 10 quad 40mm guns, which you can see here in these mounts. And then also you have 43 single-mounted 20mm, which are all over the ship in so many different pieces, even on the front of it right here. So in terms of AA defense, this has it. It has a lot of it. And it also means that we can demonstrate something which is new to the game, which is they are adding more vibrant tracers that you can see from far away. So for example, if you see all the tracers moving around, you'll be able to see them for much further distance compared to before. So in terms of this, you can see with these tracers, you can see them from miles away compared to where you could see them previously. Now understand, I do have some like boosted lighting settings, which is why they look very bright, but you can see them from absolutely miles away now. So that's really cool. And make sure, you know, when you're firing, it'll be much easier for you to see where you're actually firing at range. So these guns, the 14-inch ones, they're not too different from what America already has to offer. They are the Mark 11 cannons. They have 1.2 rounds per minute, 2 rounds in total if you have an aced crew. So not a great fire rate, but at the same time, they do have access to APC-BC, which has 10 kilos of TNT equivalent and a lot of penetration on the rounds, which is very nice. So you'll be able to go through anything that you face. You also have a HE shell with nearly 50 kilos, so you'll be able to bop a bunch of smaller machines with those too. The 5-inch cannons, since they're the multi-purpose ones, they have access to HEVT, they have access to the SP, and also the HE, which is around the place, and the improved rangefinder, the hydroplane, and all these different things for the vehicle. Since it is a big old beastie, it has 343mm of belt armor, then also 281 below it. It has a bunch of armor on the ammo, and the front of the turrets has 457mm. There isn't as much on the bridge that I thought there would be, but also you have all of these different kind of rangefinders and AAs around the place to kind of show, you know, what's going on. The fire solution time is the same as pretty much everybody else. And one thing I do want to show, which is new in this update, which is really nice to see for Naval, is not just, you know, the tracers that we talked about previously. You know, being able to see them from miles away is super useful. The other part of the game that they have improved is the stuff for the planes. So this one has a hydroplane. It isn't actually showing on the back of it, but understand it is there. Now you actually have the minimap for the plane. So this is something that they've added in, which is pretty cool. So if I just let this thing fire at everything, you can kind of see all of like the guns firing and all of the traces everywhere and how far they go, so you can see them from absolutely miles away. So yeah, pretty cool. And once again, you are able to kind of coordinate where you want to go and what you want to do. So huge and big, you know, improvement to hydroplanes, which is a key part of using battleships and battlecruisers nowadays. So for the Germans, the Tennessee is after the Nevada in the tech tree. So it's another 7.0, the fourth 7.0 for the Americans that you can bring in. For the Germans, they get a slightly lighter vehicle. This is the Derfflinger, or the Derfflinger, I should say. I'm sure I'm saying that completely wrong. This is another First World War machine, but it isn't a refitted one, so it's specifically from 1916. This means that it lacks quite a lot of the AA armaments that you find on a lot of other machines, and is much more focused on its raw primary firepower. The Rank 5 battle rating 6.3 German battle cruisers and battleships are pretty good. You can see this one's a battle cruiser. It has a lot less armor than other vehicles. You know, you have this 300mm belt and then also the 270 above it, but not a ton of armor on the front of the turrets. But one thing you do have is with the 305mm, you have a lot of explosive mass with the general rounds. So 27 kilos with this HE, 10 with this, and then even 13.6 explosive mass with the 305, which is really nice to actually use. The other part which is really cool for it is if you have a look at the way that the turrets are distributed, it has 4 dual mounts, and they are all mounted in the center of the vehicle. If you have a look at all of the other 6.3 German vehicles, they aren't. You can see here, you have the kind of asymmetrical setup, which means that you can only get, you know, 6 of the guns on target at once. If you have a look at the Westfalen, for example, with the smaller guns, once again, it just has this kind of setup where you can't get all the guns on target at the same time, whereas the Derfflinger, it is much more similar to the kind of like World War II design or interwar period designs with the centrally mounted turrets. It also has 12 single 150s, which means it has 6 on each side in these little areas here. It also has 4 88mm on either side too, and a bunch of torpedoes as well. So overall, quite a nice armament, and overall will be able to do a ton of damage. The only problem is, since it's a battlecruiser, it won't have a lot of defense, and going after this lovely ammo room right here will be something that people focus on. For the Soviets, you have a fake machine that was never finished. You have the Izmail. The Izmail is very similar in look to a lot of the First World War kind of dreadnought battleship styles that the Soviets made. These very kind of low silhouette vehicles, and it has access to 4 triple-mounted 14-inch guns, which don't have a lot else around it because they never finished this vehicle. So it doesn't really have a proper bridge. It doesn't really have really anything else. Like, this is the bridge, literally, like where the bridge is. The rangefinders for this thing, literally, it's just this right here. This is the only rangefinder that's properly on this machine, which is kind of hilarious. And then it has a lot of guns in the sides of it, 130mm specifically. It also has some 63mm on it on the setup, so around the vehicle. On the turrets themselves, you can see the 75s, which are kind of sat there. So it's a bit higgledy-piggledy. Here's the 63s right here. Now, the vehicle does have not great armor, only 237 here, and also 305mm on the turrets, with 400mm covering the bridge. And the major thing that helps these vehicles is they're really low in the water. So all of the ammo and all of the kind of useful things that you want to explode, they are really hard to get to because you have to kind of angle down the shots into it and then hope that they continue to penetrate to explode. So it's really annoying facing these vehicles. And another one being added is just going to be another very powerful one. This joins the Kommuna, the Novorossiysk, and also the Kronstadt. So it's the second project vehicle, which basically means unfinished vehicle, at 7.0 for the Soviets, which shouldn't be surprising because, of course, that is a staple, unfortunately, for the Soviets. When it came to like these larger machines, they didn't finish a lot of them, which, kind of sucks. So yeah, we have the Izmail for the good old Soviets. The other machine is the PT-802, which is here for the Japanese. This is a coastal boat, which is going to be between the Type T-38 and the Type K3 number 1. It's pretty standard. It has the 40mm Bofors L60. This is kind of the quintessentially good coastal naval 40mm that you want. The only one that's better is the L70. And then it has some torpedo tubes too, the Type 54 Model 3s. So this vehicle, the Type 54s, they don't really go very far. They're very slow in the water, but it does get artillery support at least. And also, if you want, you can bring along some depth charges. So maybe if they ever decide to bring in submarines, it may be a little bit more useful. You can see here that it does have the ability to fire stuff like bomb mortars, which may help it going forward. But right now what you have is a pretty slow machine, which has access to a few torpedoes. But the main thing is the 40 on the back, which is what you use it for. Those are the vehicles that are in the dev server right now that I can show you. But understand, there is a ton of them which are outside of the dev server in the files. The Amagi, the Barham, the Arras, the Mogador, the Croix de Lorraine, the Mass 441, and also the Fremantle or the Fremantle. There's a bunch of them just sat there, which I'll make sure to cover for you when they get added. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.